Devlin, Untamed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Platform.
iOS, it's only sport. This is the highlights package of a 3-hour show that plays on the platform between 1 and 4, Monday through Friday, every single week of the year. Martin Devlin and Lachlan Wall, we are here to talk sport on the podcast. We got Greg Martin. So many different things happening with Aussie sport, including the Ashes. Queensland have got a new battle cry, and the Brumbies flying the flag for Australian Super Rugby. Graeme Agars wraps the first round of the US Open for us, and Karl Te Nana talking Super Rugby semi-finals. Can the Crusaders do it? Or are the Blues ripe to rewrite the rankings of New Zealand rugby? The other games are given. We all know that that's a given. But first, as always, tablets in hand, I say gather my flock. Here's a bold prediction. It's time for a sermon. Let's go to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Big prediction here, people. And yes, I'm prepared to wear the egg all over the face. I am prepared to be proved wrong. The Crusaders dynasty is about to come to an end. Either this weekend or next, we're going to see the end of one hell of an era. I believe the best side outside the All Blacks to ever play rugby in this country has been this Crusaders machine that we have watched win everything since 2017. Better than those formidable Auckland NPC sides of the 80s and 90s. Better even than the Blues of 96, 97 that dominated the original Super Rugby. And that side, remember, was stacked with All Blacks, a forward pack indeed that won us our first ever series in South Africa. Oh, lament. Series. Incidentally, that was the last time that we actually toured South Africa and played a series, 1996, generation ago. And yes, of course, it's easy to say that the Crusaders dynasty is coming to an end, given the list of players departing after the World Cup and the fact that Coach Razor is also leaving. But I'm more talking about right now, tonight or next weekend. Are the Blues good enough to beat them tonight? The answer is yes, they are. At Eden Park round 4, the Crusaders won 34-28. Truth is, they hung on for dear life. The Blues crossed the try line 3 or 4 times and just couldn't put the ball down. And even in the very last minute, they were over the try line, couldn't put the ball down. Then in Christchurch, round 12, Blues lost 15-3. Point being, they've got very close already twice. And tonight, this is a full-strength Blues side versus a Crusaders side minus. Here's the list. Blackadder, Grace, Havili, Reese, Bauer, Moody, Whitelock. 7 of their best players are missing. All of them would be first-choice players. That's almost a third of the playing 23. All missing. What I'm saying is that, man, oh man, if you could choose the very best of both sides, the Crusaders are superior. They would win hands down. But the fact is, this isn't the best Crusaders side. Ordinarily, yeah, they should win, and they probably would win because they are a better team, and those players, when you stack them up against each other, are better players. That word team, you see, that's where the Blues always struggle. That has always been their downfall. Too many individuals doing too many brain fades. Tonight, this is their chance to rewrite the order of New Zealand Super Rugby, to re-establish themselves as the new team to beat. But can they play as a team? The Crusaders are vulnerable. They haven't been impressive at all this year. It feels to me like it's about to happen. The Chiefs are going to beat the Brumbies. That's a given. There's more chance of me suiting up for the Chiefs than the Brumbies winning that game. But the Crusaders versus Blues is anyone's guess. And I think the Crusaders are ripe for the upset.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The Platform.
1:12 time then. 0800 debate is our number, 5050 on the text. So golf to kick it all off with before we do those. Sports news, Lachlan. You've been saying it's a little light over the last couple of days. Surely not today. We've got plenty on.
No, certainly it's not light today at all. I mean, Fridays and Mondays are the best when it comes to news days, because if there's nothing on, especially on a Friday, well, you just preview the weekend. Mm-hmm. Mondays, if there's nothing going on,
just
well, there are
review the
things going
weekend,
on because it's been the weekend. You know, you just recap.
I
what's
used to
going
call on
the
Radio Sport Tuesdays and Wednesdays injury days, because the only stories you used to get, this guy's injured, that guy's injured.
Yeah, that guy might have done this off the field, that guy might have done that at a bar, naughty things as well. All right, let's start off with the US Open, the third golf major of the year, being played at, is it the Los Angeles Country Club?
Country Club.
Yeah, that's very exclusive, isn't it?
Well, it is actually. It's in Beverly Hills, if you've ever been there.
I have been there.
I don't think you can even drive past. I don't think you get within streets of it.
So Ryan Fox Kiwi golf is off to a great start. He shot a 2-under-68, has him well placed in the upper areas of the leaderboard. Fox was in a tie for, I think it tied for third or second at one point when he finished his round. Dropped down to 7th. He's now in a tie for 15th at 2 under, tied with how many others? Quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 others. So he's one of 10 guys tied at 2 under after the first round. Though Xander, Schauffele and Rickie Fowler both shot 8 under par. Sensational opening round. Was it Fowler sunk 10 birdies?
10 birdies, yeah.
10 birdies. Incredible. What a round from those two. And we'll be speaking to Graeme Agars shortly about the first round, which a number of players still yet to finish. Dustin Johnson, for example, still out there. Rory McIlroy out there. Joaquin Neiman as well. All right, former All Blacks coach and Rugby World Cup winner Sir Steve Hansen believes Super Rugby needs to make changes, with the NRL currently a better product than the struggling rugby competition. This is a bang that we've been drumming for over a year now. Steve Hansen,
a drum that we've been banging.
A drum that we've been banging.
Is a bang that we've been drumming.
Isn't it?
Just a subtle difference, mate.
No, drum that we've been banging.
Yeah, you said a bang that we've been drumming.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, well, go, please.
Okay. I did that first time. I said it. Or maybe I did.
You did. Go back and have a listen.
Anyway, a drum that we've been banging.
That's it.
For over a year now. Sir Steve Hansen saying that the game is very hard to watch at times. Meanwhile,
drum you've been banging.
Former All Black Kieran Crowley, his contract won't be renewed by Italian rugby, and he says that he is sorry that is happening. They're not going to renew his contract after this year's Rugby World Cup. Crowley has been in the job since 2021, guided the Italians to famous wins against Wales and Australia. However, Italy were winless and finished bottom in this year's Six Nations, and a first appearance in a men's World Cup quarterfinal appears unlikely, as they are in Pool A with the All Blacks and France. This is what Kieran Crowley said in a statement. I would have liked to be involved with the Italian national team also for the next Rugby World Cup cycle, and I'm sorry for the FIR's choice not to extend my contract. Yeah, there seems to be maybe a little bit more to that story. Latrell Mitchell has lost his injury battle and has been ruled out of State of Origin 2. The South Sydney Star came into New South Wales camp with a calf complaint and was hopeful of recovering in time to take his place for the must-win game for the Blues at Suncorp, though that is not to be. He'll be replaced by Stephen Crichton. 2 more Kiwis have signed on to play in the new American Major League Cricket T20 League. Devin Conway and Mitchell Santner joining.
Cricket, yeah, go on MLC.
Joining the Stephen Fleming coached Texas Super Kings. George Bennett has been forced to withdraw from the Tour de Suisse following a nasty crash on the second stage. That was back on Tuesday. He's described cycling as an absolute dog of a sport, and it absolutely is. If you see pictures of the injuries that he copped in that crash, just bits of skin ripped off. Put it that way. Bits of skin just ripped off.
We're talking about, they describe them as abrasions. Yeah, no. That your skin is ripped off by gravel. Gravel rash is what we used to call it as kids when you came off on a bike.
Yeah. Finally, Lionel Messi delighted Argentina football fans in Beijing when he scored the fastest goal of his international career, netting after 79 seconds as the world champions beat Australia 2-0 in a friendly. That's what's making news.
Devlin.
Oh my goodness me!
The platform.
First round of the US Open. Rickie Fowler, 10 birdies, almost a course record 62. Graeme Agars with his thoughts on the first round. The Los Angeles Country Club. Look, we're talking to Phil Tataurangi, who I know you know, who has played around there. I'm trying to find other people in the world that even knew this existed or had played around there. You're our golf guru. Tell me that you actually teed off at the club.
I'll tell you something. I lived in Los Angeles in the early 80s, and I drove up and down Wilshire Boulevard many times. And I played several courses there, including Riviera and Bel Air Country Club. But I didn't even know this course existed.
Wow.
And driving down Wilshire Boulevard, I couldn't even see it. So this is the best-kept secret in American golf, without question. It's an amazing place. But it was a very closed-door club that didn't really want to be engaging in the public world of golf for a long, long time. But there's now a progressive membership there. And they are changing the diversity of the membership and opening up this gem to the view of the world, really. And it's a wonderful, wonderful golf course.
10 birdies for Fowler. I mean, just say that out loud. The course record is 61. You don't get a better start.
No, it's absolutely phenomenal. That's the best ever in the US Open, not surprisingly. And Rickie Fowler, 62, Xander Schauffele came in 15 minutes later with a 62 of his own. And they are significant scores. First of all, they're one shot lower than the lowest round ever fired in the US Open, that being 63. And that was fired by many good players, including Jack Nicklaus and Johnny Miller, when he famously fired it in the final round of the US Open that he won at the Oakmont Country Club. 62 just happens to be the lowest ever round shot in a major championship. Fowler and Schauffele share it with Brandon Grace, who fired that at Birkdale at the British Open back in about 2016, I think it was, the year that Jordan Spieth won. So these are remarkable numbers. But as I said, it will get harder, not easier from here. So they will be very happy to have that in the bank.
Graeme, a delightful time to be watching golf in New Zealand because the round is still going. So if you've got the day off, you can park up from pretty much late morning and watch it all afternoon. Still out on the course in no particular order, but DJ, Rahm, Mickelson, Cameron Smith, Schauffele, DeChambeau, McIlroy, and most of those guys are firing good rounds.
Yes, and Brooks Koepka, who, of course, is Mr. Major, going for major number 6. A couple of those guys you mentioned have now finished. DeChambeau, 67, 3 under. Schauffele's in at 3 under after 67. John Rahm, 69 -1. They would normally be considered very, very good opening rounds at a US Open. It's just that there's 2 8-unders on top of the leaderboard. Brooks Koepka, Mr. Major, is struggling at the moment. Late in his round, he is at +1 the last time I looked at him. Dustin Johnson is currently at 6 under, a score he shares, with Rory McIlroy. McIlroy is having a great day today. He's hit every green so far. Those two have a couple of holes left to play. But you're right, this is late golf on the east coast of the United States. This is evening golf.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing up to around 9 or 10 p.m. at night. So it's just a different feel completely, this Open.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. Super Rugby. Business end of the competition. 4 teams left. 2 semi-finals starting tonight. The hardest one to pick is this one. Karl Te Nana joins us with his thoughts. Crusaders Blues to start with. Tell me why the Blues could win this match tonight.
I think the offense is quite explosive. It's probably one of the most explosive offensive teams bar the Chiefs, So the last 3 weeks when they've been on their run, they've shown, and when they do get it right, they're tough to stop. But whether they can do that for the full 80, as you know, when you go down the crushes, that's what you got to do. And I sort of think like styles make fights in terms of that. So I think that's exactly what we're going to get tonight. We've got an offensive team in the Blues versus a defensive team in the Crusaders. And we know down there, it's the Fortress, haven't lost a playoff there ever, blah, blah, blah. But I think this is a very different Crusaders group. They've got a number of injuries. And I think they've battled their way to get to this point, but it'd be interesting whether the Blues can stick to it to 80 minutes, and I think that's going to be the test. If they can, then they're going to be very, very close.
2 games this year, it was very close at Eden Park. Remember, they got over the try line, the Blues, 3 or 4 times, and they just couldn't get the ball down, and right at the end as well, that they had a chance to win that game. And then it was a real defensive effort. I think 15-3 the score, and round 12 was that second game. So this isn't a Crusaders side that is invincible.
No, exactly right, and I think that's the thing that will keep the Blues, or give them a lot of confidence. Exactly what you've spoken about. They've gone down there. They didn't score a try, 15-3. But I think in the last month they've found their groove in terms of that. So I think they're starting to find a way that works for them in terms of how they attack different teams, and they're going to have to break a pretty staunch defence. So I think that's the thing they'll be hanging their head on. But it's just whether they can, like you say, create the opportunities, and now those opportunities like they created in the first game here at Eden Park, they did get over the line, but it was pretty staunch defence by the Crusaders, scrambling defence. In fact, that kept them in the game. That's always going to be the way it is, especially when you go down there. So as long as they've got that mindset, once they've got to take their opportunities when they present themselves, and that's finals football, then they'll be very, very close.
Are they going to have to play their best game of the season tonight, the Blues?
Yeah, I think so. I think just watching the Chiefs, Marty, last week, they found a different way to win against the Reds. And it was I loved it because it was a bit of an old school when we were watching the old Canterbury, the Waikato sort of teams from old, that you just have to be staunch, you have to be tough. And I think that's what's going to make the difference of teams that progress through the semi-final. I think that's what the Blues need to show. If they're going to be real title contenders, they're going to have to play tough tonight.
It wasn't a hiccup last week, but it was perhaps one of the two unconvincing performances of the season for the Chiefs. Did they need that? Did that come at the right time?
I think so. And you can't underestimate what Brad Thorne brings and his experience, and he came with a game plan, and it suited what he had at that time and what he had to deal with in terms of his players. So they actually isolated the Chiefs to a large degree. That's why they couldn't get their flow on, and they targeted certain areas so it would either A, stop the flow at ruck time, or they get turnovers, or it just made it niggly for the Chiefs. But I just think the Chiefs showed their quality. Yeah, it wasn't the best performance, but they had to grind it out, and you have to win in different ways in finals football, and I think they adapted to that probably the best I've seen. And, like the other two teams, in terms of the Blues and Crusaders, yeah, they had blowouts, but I don't think they've shown what the Chiefs showed last week in terms of how the Chiefs were able to be physical and own the middle of the park for 80 minutes. It was pretty impressive. I know it was old school, but they kicked well, they defended well, and when they did get opportunities, they smashed it. They nailed it with the likes of John Stevenson and Moni Narawa. So I think they're in a good place. They needed their performance last week, and they showed that they can win an arm wrestle, and they showed already this season that they can win quite spectacularly as well, scoring points.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full.
The Tight Five.
5 separate sporting subjects, roughly a minute on each. And when the bell goes ding, we move quickly on to the next topic. Is there a man on the planet who has not had the look? The answer to that is no. Santa's pig! May be true, but so is the fact that every single man on the planet knows what the look is. Steve Hansen says the NRL is a better product to watch than Super Rugby. We're going to ask Jamie Ward about this, one of the questions that we put to him, including, is this Crusaders side the best ever seen in New Zealand rugby? And also, Sansa, why did they have to have a meeting in Paris? It's South Africa, Argentina, New Zealand and Australia. Why did they go to Paris for their meeting where they decided they wouldn't do anything about all the stuff they were talking about? Rickie Fowler shoots an 8 under 62. How impressive is that lock? And also, is he the guy? Ashes tonight, I'll ask you again. Are you missing the wah-wahs this weekend? Has the VAR been good for football? But we're going to kick it off first and foremost with rugby. And as I say, talking positively about Super Rugby because we've got 2 semi-finals on. I think they're both going to be cracking games in their own right. I think the Chiefs are going to be a lot too strong for the Brumbies just because their structure is so damn good. And also, I've watched them win on playing a number of different ways this year. They can win just tearing you to bits. They can win kicking you to the corners and beasting you. They can win by just sheer smashing you in defence. So that game to me is a bit of a given. But call the other one. I asked you this last hour. I'm going to ask you this
Crusaders.
next. That's solid?
Crusaders, yeah. Better team. You talk about the injuries. They've had a number of those injuries for a while now.
They've had to use some players like Scott Barrett have had to play every minute of every single match. And how much has he got left in the tank?
It's not as if they all came last weekend. And as much as the Ndrua in Christchurch, first ever finals match is always going to be a tall task, they got pelted. The Crusaders, especially that first half, the Crusaders were all over them.
But that's the Ndrua. That's not the Blues.
Yeah, I know.
These are the rough and tough Blues, mate. These are the hard Blues, mate.
They can't beat the good teams. They lost both times for the Crusaders this year, and they were
narrowly.
No, they lost one of them by 12 points. Could only score 3.
Yeah, but that first match at Eden Park, they should have won it,
but
mate.
They didn't. Why didn't they win?
Because of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck smacking Leicester's butt as he went past, mate.
They didn't win because the Crusaders' defence held firm and shut them out at the end. You can't say a team should have won because they didn't win. So they didn't deserve to win.
Okay, well, all right, make your point. It's probably true. Steve Hansen says the NRL is a better product. Yeah, look, it is a better product than most Super Rugby, but I'm just getting a little bit to the stage, not, hacking Sir Steve. I'm just getting a little bit to the stage that this is now the media narrative and everyone's jumping on. And as you say, we've been saying this for a year and a half, and now the mainstream media are leaping all over it like it's, they've just discovered gold in the Klondike, aren't they? Look, it's been this way for a number of years. It isn't just this year. Most of Super Rugby, since they did the globalization of it with new market technologies and greater marketing synergies and got 5 different conferences and everyone got a final fat kid. I mean, it's been bollocks for a number of years. But that doesn't mean there aren't good games and games you can really enjoy. Is it Is it now at the stage, Lachlan, where it's like, come on, we've got a Rugby World Cup happening this year. The All Blacks are playing in that World Cup. Need to start just actually, I don't know. I'm not a cheerleader, but just getting behind the sport, getting behind the team, getting behind the fact that, hey, if you don't like it, don't watch it. It's like the Ashes to me. It's like the US Open golf. Jog on. There's lots of other sports to watch if you don't like it.
Yeah.
But don't watch it and bitch about it constantly. Then just don't watch it if you don't like it.
Yeah, but it's the whole thing just feels like a broken record.
Yeah, well, that's why I want to change the way we speak about it.
But no one's going to change anything. You rely on Super Rugby or Sansa or New Zealand Rugby not changing the format, because they do that all the time and it gets worse. So what do? Do you change some of the rules? And I don't know. I don't know. I think we're going to be stuck in this position for a little while because they'll be determined to make this current format work, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And NRL's going to get better and better and better by comparison. So,
well, look, I mean, I said there, I love the Premier League. There are dud games in the Premier League. I watch Major League Baseball. There are dud games in that. I watch the NBA Finals just about every game. There were dud games in that. There were games that were over by the third quarter, right? Game 3, Boston Celtics versus Miami, where they just sat all their starters with 14 minutes to go or something, right? I mean, there are dud games and everything. The problem with Super Rugby is that it probably has a few more dud games than most. But it's not a broken product, I don't believe. But it does also need fixing. Rickie Fowler. Get this, Lock. Birdies on 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 and 18. I mean, stop it, mate. Huh? 10 birdies. 10. So he's obviously had a couple of bogeys in there as well because he finished 8 under. The record for the course is 61. He shot a 62. He was one of 2 that shot a 62.
Which is the record for the US Open, isn't it?
Record for the US Open.
US Open.
Yeah.
And I think it equals... Does it equal the greatest single round ever?
Yeah.
It was tied as the best. I can't remember who got the... I got it here, actually.
It's at a major. Graeme Agars before an hour ago or something mentioned his name. Rory McIlroy, by the way.
Johnny Miller.
6 under McIlroy as well. It's a fantastic looking leaderboard. This is what impresses me the most about this particular tournament. If you love your golf, tomorrow will be brilliant to watch. The third round will be even better. If even, say, 2/3 of these guys, and they probably will be in the top 20 or 25 by the time the cut happens. You're talking about the 20 best golfers in the world, or about, because that's the one frustrating thing I find with the majors. I always want the best guys to be winning and playing on the last couple of days. You know, you want the first 3 or 4 groups to be the best players in the world, don't you? So then who's got it? Who's nuts up here? Who can hold out the other guys? That's when the mental game kicks in.
Yeah, I agree. And the way that Matt Vincenzi described the course yesterday when he was on the show, he said it's a course that really the best players will thrive in. So it's kind of hard to see either really young golfers who are yet to hit their stride, or, with all due respect, no names finding their way to that top part of the leaderboard. You will see big names in that top 10 come the last day.
All right, let's read one of mine. This was our man Matt's picks yesterday. First round leader is going to be who?
That's a good one. I like Cameron Smith to start out quick. This course is going to play to his strength. I think you need to be really creative. You need to be a shot maker.
Okay, overall then, Kepke, as I said, you got last time. Who's your favourite to take it all?
So this one is not going to be as fun as the last couple that I've done because he's a favourite. But to me, there are certain times when you need to just take the favourite and not overthink it, and that's Scotty Schauffele. What he's been doing in terms of his ball striking is pretty much Tiger Woods level. And people say that, hyperbolically, but truly, if you compare the stats, he's as close as you're ever going to get to that.
Well, he was spot on in the last one, didn't he? But he didn't actually get not as sharp on this.
Cameron Smith's a tie for 25th.
Yeah, he's 1 under. Yeah, he's still 7 off the top. Ashes tonight. You bowling or batting first?
Bet.
Yeah, of course. It's the Ashes, mate. Put on a score. Bet them out of there.
If you're Australia, though,
yeah,
would it be a smart move to bowl first?
No, but the Australians bowl. Don Bradman. 99 times out of 100, we bat first. What do we do the other time? We bat first, mate. You put the pressure on them. That's how you play Test cricket. Bat them out of it. I love the fact that the Poms are all bullshit and Ben Stokes is like, we want fast, bouncy pitches. Yeah, good luck with that. Because you've got Hazelwood and you've got Mitchell Stark and you've got Cummins. Yeah. I mean, whereas your guys, as good as they are, one of them's 40, one of them's 36, And then your captain can normally bowl about 10 overs a test match before he breaks down.
You're missing your quickest bowler as it is.
And Jofra Archer.
Yeah. Is Mark Wood playing?
Good question. I'll find out for it. Answer soon, caller. I'm picking the Aussies to win this one, and I'm picking them to win this whole thing, 3-1 or 4-1.
Jeez.
Yep. Finally, and we're gonna look at this before the hour is up, because it does pertain to this particular day in history. I won't spoil all the surprise for you, but has the VAR been good for football? Because it was introduced into the sport on this day a few years back. Why not?
Because I think when you're trying to bring technology into a sport to perfect it with its decision making, you then get into a space where you realise you can't. And the reason is because everything is operated by a human being, and there's always going to be human error and a difference of perception on certain situations.
There you go.
And with that being the case, there will be offsides, for example, awarded in the Premier League, where the guy's arms in front of
that's ridiculous.
the centre back, but his legs and his torso and his chest are behind, but they rule that offside.
It should be, the line to me is the feet, because you don't run with your arms, you run with your feet.
Exactly. Your arms can't touch the ball, so how can that be something deemed offside when it can't touch the ball?
Agree.
And then yet there'll be something where a referee or the VAR official will look at a guy whose feet are in line, but he's totally leaning forward, but that's onside, which I think's fine, but other refs won't. So there's inconsistencies in that. There's inconsistencies with handballs and what's intentional and what's not, with certain tackles in the box and whether that was a fair tackle and he got the ball first, or did he go through the player to get the ball or whatnot. Everything is subjective.
There you go. So that's the word I'm looking for.
There's no point trying to bring in technology to say it's black and white, because it's not. Because unless it's a robot,
that's it,
and it's some sort of well-developed futuristic Terminator type robot, it's going to be a human operating.
Subjective. Now, this is, and I haven't actually talked about this, but I wanted to make mention of this before we go and chat to Jamie, and then chat to our man Scott Bailey about the Ashes. Kai Kara-France, who lost that UFC bout a couple of weeks ago. I have all the empathy in the world for the fact that he felt that he was diddled out of that, and Israel Adesanya saying that the judges were screwed and everything else. The problem is, it's not that the judges are screwed. It's just that as human beings, we all look at the same thing and see something different. And this happens, we see every weekend in rugby league, we see it in rugby. And when you're actually judging something like a prize fight, now, I go back to the Olympics where there's been scandals, not only in boxing, but in everything where a judge's scorecard is relevant, gymnastics or whatever. But when Kai Kara-France fought, it's no good just publishing a set of stats and saying, hey, he struck the guy 27 times in that round. The other guy only struck him 8. Well, what say, and I'm not saying this happened, but what say, for example, that of the 27 strikes, 25 of those where he just touched him, whereas the other guy's 8 strikes, he smacked him and moved him backwards. See, that to me means that those strikes, even though you only struck 8 times, are worth more than the 25. Now, I don't know whether this is how the judges think, but I presume that's how they think. They are ringside. We're not. We're watching it on television. They are within sniffing distance. They can feel the sweat falling on them. They know the value of what a strike or a punch or a kick is. They can see it when a kick hits a calf and the guy buckles. That's got to be worth more. You don't have to strike more. It's what your strike is worth, isn't it? And so the problem that it is you can sit there and you can bitch and moan about the umpires, the judges, the referees and everything. But especially in these things where it comes down to that guy, you can't leave it up to that guy to decide whether or not you've won anything. Because once you've done that, then you're in the hands of the gods, aren't you? You're in the hands of a human being that, just like you, just like me, may see it like that. He may see it like that. He may see it like this. He may see it like that. Right? And I know that there are also those with huge egos who want to be centre stage in this matter. Some judges just love the controversy. They love to be the guy that goes, he's always the cock who always, does something different than every other judge.
And what also...
The problem is you got to put, in fighting, don't care what it is, you got to put the guy down, knock him out. That's how you win a fight.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just random as.
And you're always going to be facing those issues with people perceiving things differently, because, you could...
I'm not saying he lost that fight, but I'm just saying I'm putting a different perspective on it.
In 2010, in that World Cup final between Spain and the Netherlands, Howard Webb was the ref, gave someone, I can't remember his first name, De Jong was his surname, I think, for his tackle on Xabi Alonso.
Mate, he jumped up at the guy with both feet and hit him in the chest and got a yellow card.
Yeah, because Howard Webb didn't see it. But he didn't see it.
It's an automatic red.
Yeah, but he didn't see it.
There's 2 lines, people, mate.
Well, I don't know, but in that situation, he got a glimpse of it and thought, okay, it's a yellow.
No, he didn't. He bottled it. He didn't want to send a guy off in a World Cup final because it's only ever happened.
Oh, well,
He
okay.
absolutely choked
I'm
it,
going by what he and others said that he did.
He didn't say that's the easiest excuse in the world. Baldy! You've wrecked us at Old Trafford.
Well, who did you want to win?
Spain.
Yeah, so.
Yes,
yes.
okay, well, okay. And in the end, it didn't really bloody matter, did it?
Devlin,
You've gotta love sport.
the platform.
Phil Tataurangi about to join us, and we're talking in particular about Ryan Fox. He's going to break down that round for us. Welcome back, mate. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, it's cliche, Marty. Nice to be on with you again, talking major championship golf and talking about Ryan again, getting off to a very solid start. It's cliche that you don't win a major championship in the first round, but you can certainly lose it. He hasn't done that. He's certainly kept himself within striking distance, and any time you're under par in the first round of a big one, you're somewhere near the hunt.
Yeah, so just work us through the headspace around that, because he left a couple out there, but he is 2 under, and there's a heap of players that are going to be sitting there wishing that they'd had the same round as him. So just you take yourself back to when you were playing these kind of tournaments and things. What do you think when you're actually you've had that as your first round, where you'd probably give yourself about a 7 out of 10?
Yeah, and you're happy with that, because the one thing you don't want to do is get off to a tough start and then have to feel like you're pressing and you get behind the 8 ball, and next minute your week's all over and done with because you shoot 76 the first day. I think the acceptance was that scoring was going to be pretty good the first couple of days. The course was going to be set up to be gettable, which is a little bit different, of course, from a US Open. They try and send you to the bloody mental asylum over the first couple of days at the US Open usually. But the course is there to get. This time of the year in California, the winds are down, cloud cover is over. It's it's not that difficult. But of course they can turn the screws on the golf course a little bit, and they'll probably do that towards the weekend. So if you get into red numbers, you kind of stay in touch. Yeah, you left a couple out there. You kind of get a feel for how the golf course is playing in competition as well. And so I think he'd be pretty happy with that. You're right. You did leave a couple out there. Not birdieing the first hole, which is basically a long par 4 for Foxy as far as he hits it, is one that he might have left out there. But I think it's a matter of kind of getting around here, just not stubbing his toe, and he did that nicely.
Phil, do you look at the fact that, hey, there's 34 guys under par? Does that get inside your head as well, or you're just entirely focused on yourself when you play these tournaments?
No, I think he's you're not really worried about what everyone else is doing at this early stage. I mean, it's record-setting day, Marty, with a couple of 62.
Yeah, incredible.
That score in the US Open before. So for not only one person to do it, but a couple of people do it. And then with the later stages, players, well under par. Rory McIlroy, one of those, out on the golf course, finishing up in the afternoon way. So the scoring was always going to be pretty low today. You don't really worry about what other people have done. If you're under par, you're off to a good start. You can build on it from there. And the US Open is not about really scoring the most birdies. It's about making the least amount of mistakes.
Do you look at those above you or ahead of you on the scoreboard? Would he be looking at Fowler? Fowler had 10 birdies today. It's just incredible. And obviously Schauffele's up there as well. Do you look at those guys, or again, is it just, no, I'm just me?
Well, I think you kind of have a look at the style of play that's played well, right? And it's not so much about the player themselves, but what did they do to score well? I predicted, and I'm no messiah here, that Foxy will actually go pretty well around this golf course. I've played it a few times, and I just kind of got the sense that, given that the big stick, right, is his weapon, and if you use it well around LA Country Club, then it can make the whole week so much easier for you. And I think that you kind of have a look at his body of work so far this year, Marty. Yeah, he hasn't been kind of on Sunday on telly on Sunday, Monday, and kind of contending for titles. But to be inside the top 30 or thereabouts each week consistently, I think 6 or 7 tournaments he's played, he's only had one missed cut. He had to pull out of Hilton Head because he was crook. But that's actually some pretty consistent play. And he's maybe only a couple of putts are dropping, and then all of a sudden he finds himself in the top 10. It's all coulda, shoulda, woulda, of course, but he's not that far away. So if he can continue to be consistent like that, you come to a course like this where if he continues to drive the ball well, puts the ball nicely, which is a big improvement in his game, I think that we shouldn't be surprised if Ryan's there or thereabouts coming into the last round.
Greg Martin, former Wallaby fullback, Triple M breakfast host, Marto, joins us every Friday. May I say that you have earned the rainbow tick here in New Zealand. You made national news for the fact that when you were on stage at the Queensland Rugby Awards that you just pulled Sam Scott-Young back into line. Well done.
I can't believe I did it, but all those years of radio training telling me what you're not allowed to say, it took a. He's been a long-time friend, Sam, but he's still caveman-like in some of his attitudes. How does that sound?
Look, every time this happens, mate, in all seriousness, I actually think it's a good thing. Do you know why? Because I actually just think what it does is it just reminds everyone that, hey, just be nice when you say things, okay? You don't have to say things. That doesn't mean that Sam Scott-Young's an a-hole, because he's not, clearly. But, you know.
He's not. He's definitely not. But he hasn't been trained. And it was an official Queensland Rugby Union, like the Reds. It was the celebration of 140 years of Reds rugby. And I'm emceeing it. And, and he thought he was at a all-men's sportsman's lunch, and he wasn't. There was important people there. So time and place.
Yeah.
Time and place.
Yeah, time and place. Yeah, no, you did the right thing, mate. And as I say, you've now got a big rainbow tick. So I'll send you the certificate, and you can put that up. You can put that up in the unisex toilet in your house. All right, let's talk about the rugby tonight. Crusaders versus Blues. Who you got on that one?
Crusaders, because I love the Crusaders, and I like to be on the side of most New Zealanders.
Okay, well, I mean, this is the awkward thing about it, because we look at the Crusaders and we think at some stage you're going to lose, but probably don't want you to lose to them. All right, Brumbies flying the flag for Australian rugby. What chance you got tomorrow night?
I don't know how they pulled it off last weekend. Do you know want a stat from the Australian point of view?
Go on.
No Australian team has ever won any sort of final in New Zealand since the start of the competition in 1996. History is in the way.
Yeah, we're all kind of feeling a bit like that. And also, to be honest, watching that Brumbies-Hurricanes game, really exciting game, great ending. But, I mean, was there any defence? There certainly wasn't up the middle, was there?
No, mate, what chance have we got, really? They're lucky to be there, the Brumbies, especially considering that ending. But I'm glad they are, because it'll actually get some eyeballs, and I can't see them beating the Chiefs, though. Although, did you see the mighty Reds last weekend? They gave it a shake.
Yeah. Well, that's got a breath on me. One of the best pieces of news to come out about rugby during the week is that the referees are now going to wear black shorts because of menstrual concerns. So I hope you're passing that message on to Nick Berry. Nick, you'll have black shorts on next week so that you don't have to worry about your period.
Stop it. I didn't know that. That's a great story. I wish I had it for radio this morning. Oh, God.
Okay, here's a question for you, mate. What is more chance of happening? The Blues level the series in Brisbane or the Brumbies beat the Chiefs?
Oh, the Brumbies beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm a Queenslander, so I can't answer that objectively. I worry, though, the Blues in their camp, you know how they go through their 10-day camps, and there's about 8 journalists have to file stories. They're really struggling because the Queenslanders, there's no injuries. Normally we're the underdogs. Oh, so-and-so's injured. Now it's the Blues who are pulling this. Oh, we're the underdogs. Look at us. We're all injured. And Latrell's out. And last game, Nathan Cleary had a toothache. Mate, it's only in the last few years that rugby league players have teeth. He should be considering himself fortunate. But the build-up's going on again, mate. And, oh, God, you see the journos. They come on the news at night time. Oh, I'm live from the camp. And all they do is go, oh, they were stuck in a traffic jam on their way home from training this afternoon. I go, what? No, they're just... Anyway, this is what rugby league does over here. It creates or commands too much information. Have you heard the new one, though, out of the Queensland camp?
No, I haven't. Yeah, give it to me. Come on.
All right. So Billy Slater's obviously been watching Netflix one night and must have seen some sort of a doco on ancient Zulu, as in South Africa, Zulu philosophy, and he's come up with... the word Ubuntu. That's the new catch cry. Ubuntu. That's what they've all got to say when things are down. It used to be Queenslander, and you'd start punching someone. That was state of origin. But now it's Ubuntu. Do you know about the Ubuntu philosophy of the Zulus?
Now, I tell you what, I know that if I look this up on the internet, my boss is going to have some problems.
Well, no. As long as you spell it right.
So it's Ubuntu.
I am what I am.
Okay. Oh, okay.
All right. Ubuntu.
Yep.
And it means I am what I am because of who we all are.
That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do, though, is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
Unbelievable. Incredible.
The Platform.